Okay. Streets of Rage 4. Ending review, breakdown, analysis, whatever you want to call it. Published and developed by Dotemu. Not really a company that I've actually heard of. But I'm a big fan of Streets of Rage. I used to play it on the Sega Mega Drive quite a lot. Blaze was my main character the majority of the time because her backflipping kicks and her throws were awesome. The game is pretty much 4.5 gig. So it's not a massively large file, but you wouldn't expect it to be for a side-scroller itself. PEGI 12 age rating. The digital price, £21. The PS4 and Switch standard price is £30. No idea why they didn't opt for a physical copy for the Xbox or even a collector's edition for the Xbox, but you can get a classic Genesis box edition, which is around £50. It's really heftily priced up on that point. But we're going to go through the template, just like we always do before I talk about any additions. Choice of music used, audio, effects, and voice acting. Choice of music used is fantastic. It's great. And the game does give you that option to trigger the old classic Streets of Rage music. If you don't want the newer remix music itself, you don't have to have that. But I cannot fault the music that they've got, even with the upgraded soundtrack that they utilize in Streets of Rage 4. It works extremely, extremely well, and I can't knock it in any way. I really, really, really can't. There are some audio stops once in a while. I think we heard it about 3 times in total over a 5-hour gameplay. And I'm guessing that's something that they could easily comb over and just polish up to make it, on point. But other than that, the effects, the explosions, the weapon noises, the sound effects that they use in the combat itself is great. If you use a retro skin on your character, you get the retro sound effect out of it as well, which it adds to the nostalgic value of this game itself. And like I said, if you're an old school fan, then you're really going to fall in love with this straight off the bat. The voice acting, the only time that they use voices is during the combat itself. There is no scripted voice acting in conversations when you see the cutscenes, which to me is actually a disappointment. I was hoping that there'd be an engagement conversation with the characters, just some talking within the game. It would have added to it a little bit more, in my opinion, added a little bit more context and just saves you reading. So I feel there was a missed opportunity there, not having voice actors step in and actually do the voice acting for us. Graphics, texturing, and weather effects. Weather effects, not applicable. I remember in the old Streets of Rage games, there were some levels that had rain and stuff like that. They could have added weather effects, in my opinion. I think they could have added weather effects. It would have been a nice little touch itself. But the upgraded graphics that they utilized looks really, 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 really good. And to give you just a tiny, tiny sneak peek, when you go into the extras tab, you can actually see the new old school retro. You can see sorry for the music, but you can see all of the skin designs that they utilize. And I really like the model design. I really, 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 really do. AtticPlays, they all look really, really, really awesome. And there are other characters that you can unlock as well throughout the game, giving you even more choices. And like I said, if you use the retro versions of the characters, you utilize the retro combat style and not the updated combat style. So you've got a good variety there overall. The character model designs, we've already gone through that. Glitches and bugs. During the 5 hours of playthrough that we did in this game, I didn't encounter any form of glitches or bugs myself throughout the game itself. That's not saying that there might not be any, but I myself didn't encounter any. The game worked very, very, very well. I can see the polishing that they've done within the game. The enemies use the same mechanic system as the old Streets of Rage. So when you push towards them, they step back and they try to get around your back and trying to hit you from the back because it's just the easiest way of doing it. But I couldn't see any glitches or bugs or anything severely bad within the game itself. Gameplay and mechanics. We've already talked the mechanics. The mechanics are very, very similar to the old style Streets of Rage games. So if you've played any of those old games, you're going to be used to this straight off the get-go. You're going to know how to play it. You're going to understand it. I do like the being able to catch the weapons that you throw at the enemies. I do like the fact that there's a lot of combat weapons in this game itself. You got maces, you got hammers, you got throwing stars, you got bottles of liquid, which could be lightning, fire, or poison. There's so much that they've chucked into this that wasn't in some of the old original games, that it definitely spices up the variety that they have, and I really like that. Replayability and game difficulty. We'll start off with game difficulty itself. They do have obviously easy, so you can learn how to play and get used to it. Normal, hard, very hard, and then an insane difficulty if you are a pro MLG player at this game and you think you've really got the skills to play throughout the game itself. Good luck, by the way, because it's you know, we try, me and my co-op buddy Willie Mays, we tried a hard mode and we got up to round 6 before we died and lost, which was, I mean, that was our first ever attempt, but I thought that was pretty good. But you only get 1 life in hard mode, and unless you build up your score ranking to unlock another life. If you do end up dying, the game will give you a perk system where you can sacrifice your scoring for extra lives, extra stars, so you can utilize your specials and your abilities. And the abilities are pretty cool. They really are. They're really well done in this game. And the upgraded combat system allows for enemy juggling and enemy combos that you can do to them to increase your combo scoring and stuff like that. It's done very, 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 very well. The game does have a replayability option in it, because you have a scoring bar that fills up after every time that you play the game. Even once you go to a brand new game, it keeps filling that bar up, and each time you hit a certain diamond, you unlock a new skin for the characters that you may have already unlocked, or even a new character itself, giving you even more replayability. Now, Willie Mays is across the pond from me. I'm in the UK. He's across on the American side. So we kind of thought that the game would be heavily afflicted with ping, with a sort of disconnections that might have happened every now and again. We never got disconnected once. And the ping was pretty well solid. There were only a very small amount of times where it just slowly started just a little bit, but then it caught up with itself, and it was very smooth throughout the rest of the game, and I cannot really complain about it at all. I remember playing with me Uzi on the classic retro version of Streets of Rage on the Xbox title, the Sega Classics, and there would be quite a bit of rendering issues with the game, with the cross connection, but this game itself, I can't really fault it. There was just only a little minor hiccup every now, during one period, and other than that, it played out really well, really well. So I've got to give them credits on that. Any game customization or stats building, there are no stats building because it's not an RPG. Each character obviously has their own power, technique, speed, jump, and stamina stats, so you can compare which character that you want to go with, if you want to hit harder or if you want to move quicker. It's completely down to you. So again, that adds to the replayability as well. And as I mentioned before, if you play the retro skinned version of your character, you have different stats, you have different move sets, and it's pretty neat. Story, a very basic storyline. You know, it's not overly impressive itself. You play through, you know, as the rogue cops that you are itself. You fight bosses and enemies that you again would encounter in a Streets of Rage game. I do have to say I'm a little disappointed that they didn't chuck in a lot more bosses, a lot more variety of bosses itself. I feel that there's a lack there in the game, but the bosses that you do fight, they are challenging. They have different styles of fighting, different techniques, and it worked for me, but I did want more bosses. I did, as a whole. Online co-op modes, features, and stability. We already talked about the stability itself. In terms of modes, you have a story mode, battle mode, an arcade mode, boss rush. Story mode is self-explanatory. You go throughout the whole game. Each chapter you can change character if you wish, and it's basically an A to B situation going from start to finish. Battle mode, it's you fighting your friend, so basically like a Street Fighter version of a mode. There isn't any rounds, it's just you beat them, one life, good luck, have fun beating the crap out of each other. And I thought that was a really, really, really nice touch, in my honest opinion. Arcade mode is pretty much a 1 credit life system itself. You start off with 1 credit, and as your points build up, you get more credits, and if you die, that's it. That's the game over for you itself. And boss rush is basically you start off with 1 life, and the game will throw one boss after another, after another, after another, until you lose. Good luck. Good luck. We got the first boss down with only 1 life. When we went and tangoed with the second boss, we got our asses handed to us. So definitely good luck with that. Purchase price, we've already talked about. Digital price, we've already talked about. And value of content. So do I feel as a whole this game justifies £21? So that you're looking at what, around about 25 bucks, £21, 25 bucks. Is there value for content? I would say that the pricing is just a teeny weeny bit high, just a teeny weeny bit. You know, if this was a $14.99 game, bang on the pricing, in my opinion. Bang on, 100%. $19.99 at its highest. They just go a little bit over that and go for 21 quid. But $14.99 to $19.99 is a perfect price point for this game itself. Maybe even like a nice in the middle $17.99 would have been, you know, much appreciated. That's the sweet spot right there, for me anyway itself. Microtransactions and any DLC, I didn't see any microtransactions itself when I grabbed this game to do the review for you. I didn't have to pay for it myself because I did play it from the Game Pass system that I've unlocked on Xbox itself. But you won't have that luxury with obviously Nintendo Switch. You'd have to buy the game out, or if you don't have the Game Pass, you then have to pay that price point itself. And that's what I'm pretty much reviewing this game around, that £21 price point. Any additional notes? Now, going through something, again, I might repeat myself in certain aspects of it, but I need to get it done. I do love the fact that the game gives you a retro soundtrack option on the main menu. You can change between old school and new school. It's really cool. Able to change characters mid-game just to help you not get bored with the same character too quickly, so you can mix up your variety there for sure. Voice acting in cutscenes would have been nice. I agree, 100%. I feel that should have been put in there. I don't think it would have been too difficult for them to just, you know, find a couple of people out in the street, for crying out loud, throw a bit of money at them and say, would you consider being a voice actor for a couple of characters in our games? That would have been really, really, really nice. Old school retro skins as unlockable throughout playthrough. Loved that. Absolutely loved that. Little to no ping issues while playing with a friend across continent. Again, spoke about that already. The music fits nicely with the different stages that you go through. I couldn't complain about the music at all. I loved it. It kept it upbeat and it kept it going for me throughout the whole game. More pickups and throwables than usual compared to the old style Streets of Rage game. Again, we've already spoken about that. There are 12 playable stages throughout the game before big boss fights, and that's where I feel that they could have chucked more bosses at you, because you definitely do not fight 12 bosses. You probably fight around about 4 or 5. I should have done a count itself, but maybe 4 or 5 bosses throughout. If you count the twins as individuals, maybe 6. But I feel that they could have done maybe more levels to add more boss fights, or just add more boss fights in general. I like the Wolverine guy that was in the original, and the really, really big muscle wrestler guys that would charge at you and smack you in the face and knock you across the screen. And the jugglers as well were not in this game. And that, I used to love the jugglers. You know, they used to come in throwing loads of knives or bottles around, and then they'd throw one at a time at you, and you either have to punch them back or you just go behind them and just beat the crap out of them. Save states that allow continued playthrough. There are 3 saved options when you start a campaign. And when you stop playing, you can basically load back into that and continue throughout that, so you don't have to restart again. I thought that was a really nice touch. Game gives you assets to aid the player if you fail to achieve completion of levels. I think we've already spoken about that, but if you die throughout a difficulty, so me and Willie were playing it on hard mode, we got to level 6 and died. The game said, here you go, you know, we'll give you some assets, but we're cutting your scoring down. So you're sacrificing points for boosts to help you through that level, but you do get chucked at the beginning of the level again. You don't have to start the whole story again, but you get chucked at the beginning of that level. Overall, though, I'm very, very, very positive with this game itself. I had a lot of fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to do like a final analysis, a recommendation, and then a scoring on the game. Recommendation, do I feel like this game is worth grabbing and worth picking up in its state, in its condition, and in its price point? I'm going to say yes. You know, I really am. I'm going to say yes. I thought this was a really, really well done game. It looks great. It sounds great. Lots of unlockables, character-wise, skin-wise. But the negatives that I do have to talk about, you know, there is a lack of bosses within the game itself, and that's one big disappointment. The sound popping that I heard every now and again, if they can polish that out, perfect, but I'm not really going to knock a scoring off of that. I'm really not. But my biggest complaint, like I said, was the fact that there was a lack of bosses. A little bit pricey for what you're getting at. I mean, if they want to go for the $14.99 to $17.99 option, that would be the sweet spot right there. $19.99 being its highest, nothing over that, but they do go over that for 21 quid. I know it's an extra pound, but you know, every pound matters. Every single pound matters, in my honest opinion. So yeah, it's a recommended pickup for sure. Now comes to the hardest part, the scoring. And what I'm going to do, Willie Mays, are you in chat right now, dude? Are you in chat right now? Because you kind of helped me with this review. So he is. Willie, because you helped me with this review itself, what would you yourself give this game out of 10? Because I kind of have a score in my mind what I'd like to give it. I want to see what you thought of it as well, as you helped me play through this whole game to test the game out and to test its multiplayer features out as well. So out of 10, what would you rate it? He's in panic mode now. Wonder if he's speed typing. You'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I mean, I guess the fan in me is definitely kicking this score up just a little bit itself. The fact that, you know, they didn't ask for a £40 price tag on this game, which would have been horrible. The fact that there are unlockables itself. We had a lot of laughs with it. I'm not going to lie. We had a lot of laughs. But my final scoring around it is I'm comfortable giving this game, in my honest opinion, like I said, the biggest thing that I didn't like is the fact that there just was not enough bosses. There's more characters to unlock, more skins to unlock, which is pretty good, and no voice acting as well. No voice acting. So the three negatives: the voice acting and the cutscenes would have been nice. Some videos would have been nice as well, you know, but they done it in a comic book style. No voice acting during cutscenes, lack of bosses, and the price is just a wee bit high. Just a wee bit high. So with that in mind, I feel that the game deserves, in my honest opinion, an 8 out of 10. That's my opinion, though. Streets of Rage 4, I'm happy giving it an 8 out of 10. Just because we had so much fun with it, just because there's a lot that you can do with it itself. They could have asked for a lot more money. They could have, but they didn't, you know? But the fact that we had a lot of laughs juggling the enemies around and fighting each other and beating each other up accidentally and throwing knives at each other. It was funny. You got to play this game with a friend, in my honest opinion. Don't play it on your own. And if you are a Game Pass user, utilize that Game Pass. Utilize that. You know, play it with a friend for free if you both have Game Pass, and you'll definitely get your laughs out of it. But I'm happy closing off this review